Have you ever realized that nothing pisses people off more than you having boundaries for yourself? When you take access from people to yourself, people really lose it. They get upset that they can't just screw you over and do whatever they want to do and treat you any type of way because they would allow people to do that to them. And so for them, they're like, who does she think she is? That she won't let me have access to her. That's when you realize that it's always a game to people. And you have to protect your space and your energy. And when you love you, you will know that you're so valuable that you do not owe anyone access to you. And you need to be selective about the people you allow in your life and the people you give access to yourself. I used to let every and anybody into my life until I realized that I had value and that not everybody deserves to have access to me. And that should be for you too. Everyone should pick and choose who is in their life and be selective about those people. I used to have a hard time cutting people off or letting people go. I guess for me, it was kind of like one of those things where it's like the thought of never talking to you ever again would make me sad. But the minute I just started cutting people off for doing me dirty and having those boundaries, I feel like I really stepped into who I am as a person. And I feel as though it really allowed me to realize, you know what? At the end of the day, you do what's best for you. It's not what's best for everybody else, or it's not what's best for, your parents or whatever. You don't impose other people's feelings on yourself because the people in life, a lot of people in life rather, do that to you. Like they impose how they feel on you and they want you to pity them. So because of that, they all of a sudden are like, oh, my parents did this to me as a child and that's why you should tolerate my toxicity. No, I shouldn't. When I finally got to the point in life where I'm like, no, I don't owe you that at all. I don't owe you to be in your life and you don't owe me for me to be in your life. It just made life a whole lot better and easier. It's just a better way of doing things, and I wish we were raised like that and we weren't raised to be people pleasers. I mean, granted, I know our parents were raised to be like that, but I'm realizing making sure that your kids and you have boundaries are one of the most important things you can teach your kids or yourself. Life is so short that you should be happy, and no one else should force you to have them in their lives. Loving you is one of the best loves you can ever feel, and I feel bad for people that haven't really learned to love themselves because people treat you exactly how you treat yourself. So when people know that you don't love you, it's a breeding ground for toxicity. When you love yourself, you start attracting a different type of people. You don't end up with people in your life that are trying to use and abuse you and mistreat you because they know you love you so much that you're not going to allow anyone into your life that is trying to ruin it or not love you the way you love you or more. I think that's the biggest lesson in life. People can tell you they care all they want, but actions speak far louder than words ever will. And people's actions will tell you exactly how they feel, even when their words say otherwise. One of the biggest mistakes I feel like I've made in life is dating someone or talking to someone or being friends with someone and making excuses for their toxic behavior. Like, no, his dad was very abusive growing up, his mom abandoned him, and so I'm gonna give him grace to be toxic because I love him and no one loved him before, so I need to be that person to love him. Honestly, at the end of the day, I feel like you should always be who you're gonna be or who you are unapologetically. Because some people might like you, some people might not, but that's really their issue. Because the real issue is, do you like you? Because at the end of the day, when you are laying in bed, it's you, right? It's you. So you have to ask yourself, do I like me? Because so many times, society tells you to be who you are based on how other people accept you. But why? You can accept me all I want, but if I don't accept me, that's kind of a problem. Because don't I have to live with me? Every day of my life, I have to live with myself. So if I don't accept me, that's a big problem. No matter if you accept me or not. I don't know, I feel like I've learned things backwards. And now being grown and realizing that there's a lot of things in life you could avoid just by learning to set boundaries and love you. And every time I veer off from my boundaries, that person, thing, whatever, proves to me why I should have never budged from those boundaries. So you have to stay firm on your boundaries. In the beginning, it's very hard because you're kind of used to letting people walk all over you and do messed up things and allow you to lose yourself. But when you really realize losing yourself is just not worth it, it's too big of a risk to take. And truly it is. Like, when you think about it, that is such a huge risk to take to lose you over someone else. I just realized that I've made a lot of mistakes in life. And a lot of those mistakes that I've made in life are because of not loving me. And once I started making those better decisions, I just feel like life became different. Like, my quality of life. But I'm really focused on making sure that I teach my kids to love themselves too, because I wish that I would have realized what that was and what it meant so much earlier on in life. I think I would have avoided a lot of issues. And I feel like women too, a lot, especially women of like that are from outside of the U.S. or like parentage that's outside of the U.S. They are taught to be people pleasers, and that's such a horrible thing. When you really think about it, like half the time, our entire lives we've been imposed on, and for some reason that seems really normal to us. It's kind of scary when you think about it, because life is just way too short for that. But I felt like this was kind of important to say, only because I realized yesterday so many people were pissed off that I blocked them. It really made me laugh. I was like, wow, if someone blocked you, why do you care? Obviously, that means that you weren't their cup of tea, or they weren't your cup of tea, or they had that boundary, and you should be okay with the fact that someone had a boundary. For you to come on the internet and be upset that someone blocked you just shows the level of entitlement that you feel, and that to me is insane. So I thought about it this morning, and I was like, you know what? I don't feel like I really have to ever explain myself, because I don't necessarily owe that to anyone. But I figured maybe me saying this might help someone else out, because I wish someone would have really sat down and said this to me before, because I have made so many mistakes. But it's kind of like, once you start creating those boundaries and you realize how much better life is, it becomes easier to create those boundaries. And for me, it just took a situation that happened with an old friend, and her and I obviously aren't friends anymore. And the reason why I cut this friendship off is because I felt like this person didn't value me. I was like, you know what? She takes me for granted. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a lesson that you've learned that you wish you learned earlier? Do you feel like if you would have learned to love you a long time ago, you would have made better decisions? Weigh in on this. Is it just me? I'm pretty sure it's not. But I'm just curious. Moral of the story is love you, even if it's not the popular thing. Never let people impose how they feel on you. Be honest, direct, so people know exactly what you're expecting of them. That way, if they don't live up to it, they can't be upset that you cut them off, because you were always upfront about who you were and what you would accept.